Chapter 2 by Victoria Cunha. Confluence of nature and nurture on personality. Biological factors and sociocultural environment have to do with developing our personality. It is true we inherit half our genes from our father and half from our mother, but these genes interact with the environment which we have been exposed to since birth, and hence making up our personality. Different effects in unlike environments and dissimilar genes may have similar effects in like environments. The determinants of personality cannot be reduced either hereditary or environmental factors. Each person is a unique product of both factors. An example of this would be my sister and I. We both live in the same household, we both grew up similar time frames, yet we are both still so different. We are all familiar with Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species, Survival of the Fittest. He explained the process of evolution in terms of heritability of the adaptable characteristics of organisms for their survival and perpetuation of offspring. First attempt to apply Darwin's to the sociological was Francis Galton. This is a photo of him. Race and intelligence. Inheritary genius, which claimed that he found empirical evidence, mental testing, and family testing to support the relationship between heredity and intelligence. Pioneer field of behavior genetics studied later as race and intelligence. Darwin's theory applied in sociology. It was applied by Herbert Spencer. He used Darwin's concept to reinforce his theory of unlinear social evolution from simpler to complex. From homogeneous to heterogeneous, from military to industrial, and from primitive to civilized societies. Arthur Jensen. Arthur Jensen published Harvard Educational Review in 1969 that claimed about 80% of human intelligence is inherited. It also claimed Black Americans can score on the average 15 points below white Americans. He also claimed the IQ difference between blacks and whites is due to genetic factors. Not many scholars supported Jensen's claims. The majority of social scientists challenge the claims. Here are some of the challenges in the next slide. One of the very obvious issues with these tests is that they're cultural biases. Robert L. Williams is another example of a culture-specific test, the BITCH, Black Intelligence Test of Cultural Homogeneity. The photo right here to the left is a picture of Robert L. Williams. The triarchic theory, composed of three components, obviously. The ability to analyze and process information, Next, the ability to apply existing knowledge to new problems. And number 3, practical thinking, the ability to adapt to your environment. Basically, common sense. Next, we will be covering twin studies, which was basically the study of identical twins who are reared apart in different environments. Due to methodology problems, past twin studies on intelligence has produced conflicting ability of twins. The hypothesis state African American children will score worse on a test. The question that arises with these studies are criminals born or are they made? What factors? Is it their environment or is it their biology? So the earliest born criminal theory introduced by Cesar Lombroso, he stated criminals had beast-like or primitive features. Obviously, this did not survive as a theory. We can already see the issues with just his very statement. He claims somotypes in delinquency in XYY karyotype and criminality. Somotypes in delinquency. The somotype is an individual permanent pattern of body build determined by relative strength of 3 major structural components: endomorphy, mesomorphy, and ectomorphy. Endomorphy measures the massive of digestive, rounded, which is basically rounded body. Mesomorphy is athletic potential, muscular power, and ruggedness. Ectomorphy is skinny body type. Sheldon measured 200 delinquent juveniles and theorized that mesomorphs were more prone to criminal activity. Sheldon's theory could not be accepted due to different environmental factors. There were no correlation between body types and criminal activity. XXY karyotype and criminality. Karyotyping is a technique of studying the patterns of chromosome configuration. Scholars believe that individuals with an extra Y chromosome translated to super aggressiveness. This is the relation to males' aggressive tendencies. The literature on XXY chromosome configuration was based on the frequency of men in prison and mental hospitals who carry the configuration. Males who carried the XXY chromosome were described to be exceptionally tall, overly aggressive, and antisocial. A study of men with XXY configuration revealed that men had committed minor offenses. A study of mass murderers John Wayne Gacy and Richard Speck tried to link them to XXY chromosome. After examination, both had an XY configuration, which does not support the aggression claim linked to XXY. Criminality among twins. Coordinates is the similarity between twins in terms of their physical, mental, and behavior characteristics, and discordance refers to the differing of physical, mental, or behavior characteristics. A study regarding coordinates and discordance among 8 groups of twins found that there was even a split between them. The study concluded that some degree of coordinates and criminality, but not thought to be generally high. Another study was found that identical twins reared separately suggests that criminals are created by the interaction between genetics and environment. The researcher Carl Otto Christanso said heredity and environment always interact in a dynamic fashion to bring about the shape and criminal behavior. Gender differences in personality. Sex differences in biological characteristics and sex roles, demographic data, and behavior are real, but the intersection of these variables are completely clear. Life expectancy among women is higher when compared to men. This also includes suicide. Men also commit suicide at a higher rate compared to women. In the US, since 2000, men have accounted for 77.8% of the total arrests. Ashley Montagu claimed women are naturally superior to men. This is supported by looking at the death, suicide, and crime rate among women compared to men. Gender differences in mental disorders. A study in 1976 found no consistent sex differences in rates of psychosis in general, of schizophrenia, higher rates of manic depression among women, consistently higher of neuritis for women, and higher rates of personality disorder for men. Demoralization is a mild condition of mental distress characterized by feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, sadness, and anxiety, and somatic complaints. Married women are significantly more vulnerable to mental illnesses in the U.S. This suggests the role of housewife or double role of working wife are unsatisfactory. Gender differences in intellectual abilities. Mokobi and Jacqueline found higher mathematical abilities for males rather than women, greater spatial abilities for males, greater verbal abilities for females, higher writing abilities among women, and no significant sex differences in overall IQ and creativity. Sex differences in quantitative, spatial, and verbal abilities begin to appear generally in adolescence. Aggression has been highly related to male sex in many cultures. It is thought many of these differences exist due to the treatment of males versus females. Gender differences in aggression and other personality traits. The interpersonal behavior among cultural populations revealed a higher rate of aggression among boys 3 years old and older. The examination of other personality traits besides aggression has revealed very inconsistent results. Consistency of certain sex differences across cultures does not necessarily mean the differences are caused mainly by biological factors. This is attributed to very different cultural practices such as incest or restriction of sexuality. Sex differences in physical traits and genetic makeup are not necessarily uniform among human populations, and it cannot be assumed that socialization will work to create differences, and it may also be used to obviate them. Sociobiology is referred by Edward O. Wilson as the systematic study of biology basis of all forms of social behavior in all kinds of organisms, and above is comparative science. Sociobiology is described as a new version of social Darwinism. It is applied to explain various patterns of social behavior. Some sociobiologists deny the advocacy of biology determinism of human behavior, rather the influence on human behavior. On marriage forms. Polygamy threshold model of female mate selection suggests that maximization of female fitness requires discriminative male selection. Societies view the number of wives allowed to a male as a function of resource. A man's sperm is a very little investment, while women's eggs are immensely significant. Men are predicted to be more threatened by sexual activities of their women, while women are less threatened by the sexual affairs of their men.